Good evening, everyone. Welcome to more Crosskeys. Yeah! First week of the Swiss finals, the Swiss season, excuse me. And tonight we've got GFE versus h3xodis, and I've got Zafikel and Alizun on comms to talk for you people, with myself and Sammy doing the tracking. So I want to let them talk because that's what they're here for, and no one wants to listen to me anyway. So here we go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to what is going to be one of many restreams I suspect we're going to see over the next 3 months or so. I know it's a little bit harder to get restreams on for Swiss, so it's maybe not as much as like a bracket tournament, but it's still great to see things popping up and going. How you doing today, Zaf?
I'm good. You did pull me in a little bit last minute, but at the same time, I was going to be watching this either way, so I'm pretty clear because that's kind of one of the I would say the heavier hitters in round one from the way the seeding went. Really quickly, I know obviously as an admin, the way the seeding went, you have some of these matchups where people like GFE, I think, went 5-3 last year, so definitely on the top half versus h3xodis. How do you feel, though, all things considered, that this kind of went the way that y'all wanted it to for round one? How are you feeling about everything looking so far?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's maybe a couple of people in the upper bracket you would say, I'm not sure if this person belongs in the upper bracket. I'm sure there's a couple people in the lower bracket you can maybe quibble with, but on the whole, I think I'm really happy with sort of how things came out. And I mean, one of the things about Swiss is as you go on, the races tend to get closer and closer because you get more and more evenly matched records going in, whereas the first round's a little bit of a crapshoot, and we try to diffuse that a bit by seeding the pool, but
all in all, I think this is probably one of the closer matches in round one. GFE and Hex both in Invitational and League and everything else, and both solid players, so really looking forward to this. But yeah, a good round one match.
Yeah, I'd say GFE is probably a slight favorite here, but I agree that this is definitely one of the closer ones in the round one pool of the ones that we're seeing. GFE obviously a very, very long time runner here. h3xodis not quite as tenured as GFE. Basically, anyone who was around before I started is a long-time runner who's been playing forever, and anyone after me is completely new. Who are they anyway? But yeah, I mean, I don't know either of these two runners all that particularly in terms of stylistically what we're going to see. Obviously, the first sort of nexus point that we're going to see in about 30 seconds here, once the race starts, is what is each runner going to open.
Yeah.
I know I am a Lynx House into Witch Hut starter, as are you. And I have some pretty strong words, but I think in a lot of early Crosskey seeds you see a lot of the same thing more or less. It's just expressed very differently. Like that very first step is going to be I need to secure resources of some kind, be that rupees, be that bombs, be all those sorts of things. And then, ooh, lovely. So GFE's a Sync starter. It looks like there was a hammer there.
Yes.
My say that's pretty good. Meanwhile, h3xodis started a Link's House, which got an item that is less obviously powerful, but significantly more interesting, in my opinion, the red boomerang.
So, for you, that's your, what, like, third favorite way of getting Splash Elite?
Oh, for sure.
Favorite? Yeah.
It's the worst one, but it's still pretty good. I think Splash Deletion is very, very powerful in Crosskeys. And then we do pick up a full magic drop from the pickle there, which is nice. Splash Deletion lets you just kind of route the world in a more efficient manner, and also lets you pull pieces of the world that are maybe not all that close to each other in a more close way. So the one that I think in particular that really makes the world kind of go in an unintuitive manner is the whirlpool south of Lumberjack, which goes to Ice Rod Cave. You can kind of connect to those two spots, and so it gives you the option to not go over there early with a glove. Of note as well is that we also saw the Sanctuary start is in Aga right now, and I think Hexdis has a little bit of a decision here. Different people do different things, I think, after this. It looks like Hexdis is just a Castle rusher. So we'll likely see do whatever is here and either follow a connector if it's there, or save and quit and start at Sank and then pick up his hammer. The Boomerang also is going to let you check the stun price as well, although it looked like what tier 2 was.
I think tier 2 was 4 bombs, so
4
I
bombs?
think he should be good with one more.
I don't think he's at tier 2 yet. No, okay.
I thought he killed 2 pickles. Yeah.
Which is going to be less annoying because you did get that connector. So Magic Bat chilling there at the castle, which is fine. The other one you really don't want to see there is if you run the start, you don't want to see Sanctuary. Ooh, and a kind of juicy 20 rupee stun prize too.
Ooh.
But so Hexdis is probably going to follow this connector. I mean, I think that's a very common thing in Crosskeys where you sort of calculate your route and say, I stop here unless I find something that prolongs my route. Hexdis kind of doubting his decision on whether he wants to, I guess they don't actually pronounce, so I'll try to use they. Their decision on whether they want to bunny walk or not, they do go for it and find back of desert here. This is a pretty easy setup for potentially stealing the key. I'm probably going to save and quit after that, but if I am Hexdis, but I suspect no. Okay, cool. Meanwhile, GFE getting a little bit of a start on Sank, and Hexdis about to pick up this hammer here. But yeah, so one of the things that I think this is maybe the most interesting spot to have the Sanctuary drop down in, because it makes that like key stealing play a lot more of a reasonable play. If the Hyrule Castle doesn't show up early.
And you yourself wouldn't really tend to key steal any other like Sanctuary spot, right? Like this tends to be the one that probably has the most.
This is the only Sanctuary spot I'm willing to devote any real amount of time to key stealing. Mainly because the majority of Aga Tower is after any of the chests, whereas it's a pretty smooth shot from the chest to killing Aga 2 for Pyramid, which I think is the other one that you really think about.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think, and it's still one of those things where, like, I'm not going to do backflips. And I think this is different from runner to runner, too. Like, there are runners who will go very, very aggressively after key steals and just be like, I need that desert key, I need that castle key, and I need to be able to see if I can sequence break out some leverage here. And then you have ones who are a little bit more defensive. I certainly register on the more defensive side of this, which doesn't make it right or wrong, it just makes it different.
Sure. Also picking up a glove, which would be kind of nice just for, and with that Sank start as well, getting the couple entrances, getting the actual like Sank entrance drop down, everything else.
Yeah, for sure. I think my general opinion on how you play this game, how you play Crosskeys, is that I don't think you can really win seeds early on in the race. I think you can lose seeds, but I don't think you can win seeds. And so oftentimes a lot of my routing is just trying to put myself in a position where I'm going to orphan as few things as possible and try to get away with just avoiding that. And of course, because we have an early hammer, it doesn't actually do squat.
He's here.
Yep. Have we seen the well yet?
We have not seen the well yet.
Okay. So that means that well is going to be either in Sanctuary or Ganon at this point.
Yeah, I think it's Lumberjack left and the well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and GFE's going pretty aggressive here, so let's see what happens. Okay. There's a few different variations, I think, on how people tend to play the key steal here, if they want to do it. But one of the things that you'll see most commonly, and it looks like GFE's trying to early set up from a Death Warp, that's kind of why he's trying to poke his face into some of these dudes. So I wonder if he's going to grab the first 2 chests here and then insta Death Warp. Which I think is a much more aggressive key steal than I'm willing to do. I almost always try to set up so that I have a save and quit and then can scum it if I need to. But we may just see that he's just going to do the front 3 and live with it too. Yep, we're going up. Okay. So I don't think GFE put himself in any sort of real position to scum this. Like, he didn't save and quit. He'd lose a decent amount of progress if he were to hard reset here, so I don't think he's going to have that option. And meanwhile, h3xodis is already just scumming this desert.
Which is almost really unfortunate too, because he's going to miss the glove in the back of Tavern, so even if he decides not to...
Well, that's a TBD on value. I would probably be resetting. No, okay, I'm keeping those.
Yep. So anyway.
So yeah, like I was saying, key stealing always pays off and is always the right decision.
Right, yeah. Playing conservative actually never gets you anything. You might as well just go pedal to the metal. So.
But yeah, I mean, I think, obviously this is a good thing for h3xodis. Boots make a huge difference. They're gonna make more and more difference as time goes on. That being said, if there's something important locked behind the boots, you're likely going to see this desert key is going to have to show up pretty early to make it work.
So let me ask this question. How do you easily push an early boots advantage in Crosskeys? Or I say advantage, but like, how do you push early boots in Crosskeys? How does it change your playstyle significantly? Does it?
I don't think it really does. I think you just do things faster than you would otherwise. Like, you can get a couple of entrances you wouldn't be able to get without the boots, but I don't think it really changes how I play the game. Like, my early goals are still the same with or without boots. Like, I want to find Moon Pearl, I want to find a mirror, I want to find a glove, I want to find a mirror. I know I said that twice, but if you know me, you know I have a thing about the mirror. And h3xodis is actually choosing to go back through desert to get back to CAC, I assume? Unless they're going to go to West Death Mountain and do that. Nomolith boots were on right side desert, which was basically key stolen by h3xodis.
Missed the sequence that got GFE over to Eastern.
Yeah, I think we got distracted by the boots. But that's okay. And this is a me thing, but I am a full-on junkie for getting that 3rd save and quit point.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not even have gone back into desert after I found that I would have been straight onto Death Mountain and rescuing the old man. Mainly because, especially like at Lumberjack, I feel like I don't have a particularly good set of options for how to get into CAC, and so I would like to find that if possible. And GFE going to show off some laser skips here. But we're already kind of in a very weird position, a very, very heavy divergence, because GFE is now in a position where he cannot scum. Whereas I think there's a pretty good chance h3xodis is going to try to set up a scum here for Hyrule Castle as well. And so we will see how that plays out. There is obviously nothing really in the front of Escape for GFE, and so the scum would work. That being said, 4 hearts and no sword is kind of a little bit of a dicey way to go through Hyrule Castle.
Mm-hmm.
But GFE does eventually save and quit and start at Link's house. And is going to find that the stun prize is very, very nice. Let's see if he's going to actually make the fake flipper play here. So he's going down. Given he has a glove, actually no, he has a glove and book. I suspect what we're going to actually see is we're going to see the play over to the desert area. And meanwhile, I was watching GFE. Hexus, did Hexus set up a death here in Castle?
I missed if he set up a death.
I certainly didn't see one.
I didn't see one. I know I saw the going back and forth between Hyrule, so it's entirely possible he's not set it up yet.
I mean, my assumption basically is in Crosskeys, if I see a Lumberjack Sanctuary, that I assume my opponent is going to do a key scum. Because I know I'm on the significantly more conservative side, and so I usually assume that if I even consider it, other people are probably doing it. Alright, and now moment of truth here for Hextus, and no scum here either, unless there was a death setup that we didn't see. I guess technically they do have a death setup, because they died to go back through
Oh right, they did because of the
desert. That
yeah.
was before the glove, but it's not like it would be a lot of time to come and revisit it. Like, it's not how I would do it if I were doing it, but we'll see if we get a reset point here. I would guess probably not. Yeah. Alright, and nope, we ended up not going to desert from GFE. Instead, we see that GFE is just going to the whirlpool and then taking it to the drop zones. Okay, so it looks like we got one item under Aga 2.
Yes, I believe that should be our Lumberjack drop down.
And 5 items behind this glove, which so far are a fat lot of Big Key to Dark Palace and nothing else. I mean, you take that, but... Yeah, so I mean, I think we're going to see some footstep retracing here now.
Yeah.
Since both runners have kind of diverged. So I suspect that scum is going to be on both runners' minds at least a little bit, but it at least is going to be no advantage in either direction for them. This is a sneaky decent spot here too in this spot here, because this is a spot you can actually set up a water walk on. And so actually makes it really, really easy to route to some of the water stuff if you want to. I know I like to mark places that are near water walkable surfaces that have ledges like that where you can do that, because it lets you just route yourself a little bit more cleanly. But Hexus looks like they are choosing to go to the dam at least. Let's see if they pop back up to turn that mushroom in or what. On the one hand, you're not all that worried about what's in the mushroom because you know your boots are out of sequence, but on the other hand, I really, really don't want to find the potion shop in a bad spot and have to come back.
I think, yeah, GFE retracing, I think some of these... Ooh. Paradox Cave, always lovely to see 7 items for no matter what.
Yep. And Wish Fairy 2 is also lovely to see as well. I suspect Hextus is going to come up here to Gino's hut and then double back for Paradox Cave here.
Yep.
After they peek this bottle, which I suspect is very unlikely to have relevance, but you never know. Get the dash straight up there. Meanwhile, GFE is heading straight to Skull Woods. And this is one of those places I think you get people who are very strongly in favor of and very strongly against. I know exactly what side I am on it for me. But at least, to be fair, was able to get his health pretty low pretty easily here. I'm generally not a big fan of that. The person who was very close to being my co-com in Days Cloud, I know, is a huge fan of the Skullwoods play. So I'm just going to say I'm really glad he's not here so I don't have to hear him defend this. Because I hate this play. I mean, hi, Days Cloud.
But in such, it's one of those. Is it a not necessarily a meta play, but something that if you find yourself in a decent spot, would you even consider? Just like, it's because of oftentimes the potential entrances, it's not really worth even the time investment because this is multiple death warps potentially.
So there is roughly one scenario where I actively seek out, and there's the Moon Pearl right there. Glove locked, but not boots locked or anything. And h3xodis is going to be going for a hover back across and gets it. Here's what I don't like about it. You don't put yourself in a position. That's actually kind of a terrible spot to see there. You put yourself in a position where you can't really. You're going to orphan things no matter what, and it's stuff that's behind an item that you want. So the thing that makes me go for this play when I do it is if I find that I already have the Skullwoods toolkit, i.e. lamp or fire rod, sword. I do not have a key, and I haven't found the Skullwoods entrance yet. Because that way I want it to be able to say, hey, I want to be able to go in and say, hey, you know what? Like, I would like to be able to beat Skullwoods when I find it. And so it is worth me taking this time. Anything else that I hate this play. But I mean, there are very good runners who like doing stuff like that. Like Days Cloud is a very good runner who happens to be wrong about this play. Oh, so yeah, and if the connector spits me out of the back of Skullwoods, that felt like a given to me. And
I say Hex should know this, but we'll kind of get rewarded very soon, actually, with the mitts out of the back of Skullwoods.
Yeah, I suspect so. Drossi, I'm going to tell you a secret. This restream came together really, really late. So in the time I actually would be dropping F-bombs, I'm actually trying to eat my dinner. And I'm muting my mic so you guys don't hear me crunching. But GFE is at least going to respect getting those Titans mitts. Titans mitts, the second level you find there, obviously kind of makes. I mean, it's just kind of better to have than a power mitt. It lets you route the world a lot more efficiently. It lets you route in Smith and Purple Chest a little more organically than you might have to. So still a nice pickup there for GFE. And if GFE is a man after my own heart here, he's going to pick up these bombs and then splash delete with the red boomerang. Because this is probably the easiest spot in the game to use the red boomerang to splash delete. Oh yeah, okay. Alright, GFE's redeeming himself for the Skullwoods play. It uses a very different setup than I do, but I guess it worked. I actually don't agree that the play worked, Days Cloud, by the way. I actually don't think the mitts are enough of an advantage to make that play worth it. Especially in comparison to when h3xodis is going to get there. And if the Skullwoods big key pops up here, then a GFE has created an orphan that did not need to be there. And or the fire rod for the entrance. That's the other thing. Like, if you could go in and you could full clear the area, it would be one thing. But the fact that you are intentionally leaving things that you have to orphan that are also out of logic, it just makes it a no-go for me, unless I have a very particular reason to go there. Hex just kind of pausing there at the misery mire, because he can get in there, but it's brutal. They have no keys. They have out-of-logic boots to even put themselves in there. Can't say I hate the skip of that. Meanwhile, Hextus is sitting here with conventional Dark World access, and so can actually just take this straight into Dark World if they want to. I don't know that I would be inclined, because usually if I don't have a mirror, I'm a little likely to play the Light World than I would otherwise. But they certainly have the options, although their rupee count is kind of low right now at 280. And so I don't think there's any real scenario where you could just like stun a bunch of stuff and pick up 20s along the way and be able to Zora. But I mean, you can save and quit out, and you can still get to Zora pretty easily from a splash deletion from the docks. Or you can just stop after Mini Moldorm Cave because crabs do not like being hammered. That happens too sometimes.
And actually setting up the water walk that you were talking about.
I think that's actually really good situational awareness from Hex 2. Like, I think that's one of those things that you get used to doing the more you play the mode. Where if you are just starting like, oh, this is a useless cave, I can just mark it away, where it's like, oh, this actually has some degree of utility to be able to do this. And so that death for Exodus, which could have been really, really costly, ends up actually being dealt with pretty quickly, because Exodus can get back here pretty easily. So lots to remain before things get thrown into Logic. I mean, the Pearl's in Logic right now. So all the Dark World stuff is pretty much in Logic that we've seen. But obviously the boots need the Desert Small to go into Logic, and so anything boots locked also needs that. And meanwhile, GFE does have money for Zora here, and so could just get these 500. I didn't see if there was anything on Zora Ledge.
It was just money, so...
Alright, well that's always a good thing when you come up here without the requisite tools to be able to get it, be it the flippers, or Fred Boomerang and Ice Rod, or my favorite of the bow. The Pearl is just chilling in Paradox Cave, which the only accessible entrance, I believe, was... Yeah, the only accessible entrance is the Glove Rock west of the dam. So I think this is setting up a Mini Moldorm to the west play here from GFE, which I think is going to get a bit of a spike in it when they find Paradox Cave instead.
Yep.
But yeah, both other Paradox Cave connectors are either Moon Pearl locked or connector only. Actually, no, we only saw one of the Paradox. We didn't see the other one, but we didn't see the bottom. And so obviously that would need the mirror as well. Theoretically, you could sequence break to it by getting the mirror hovering across Spec Rock and going down, but that, to get to Graveyard Ledge, would require the Moon Pearl. So again, not really so much doable. But here comes GFE, and GFE is going to pick up this Moon Pearl as well. So GFE is going to be accruing advantages from the mitts. I would rather have the boots. I would have had none of them. I might have had the boots. It kind of depends, because I probably would have gone up and grabbed Desert, although I might have just saved and quit instead of actually going and grabbing the small key. But Hexus heading to the eastern area now, which should send him to Laser Bridge. Believe was right here.
Yeah, it's this entrance here, which is awkward now because the desert main entrance is kind of waiting for either hopefully a connection to put you back there or some other litany of things. That's going to be something that we should...
I don't really see how you don't orphan this desert entrance right now. because you're going to follow this, and then you're going to want to follow Spec Rock, and then you're going to want to see what's at the bottom of Spec Rock, and then I mean, especially if you're GFE, you're kind of just hoping for a flute or in a mirror so that you can just like combo all that stuff together, which I'd say isn't all that unlikely to find in the relatively near future. Like, both these runners are set up pretty nicely for relatively efficient play, modulo the most important item in the game, but that happens sometimes.
And it'll be kind of nice too in GFE spots going at the middle entrance and the bottom of Spec Rock to kind of put him back in the VU area to kind of continuing that route and to be able to go south, I think, at that point.
So yeah, and with the Pearl too, it'll be a little bit easier to deal with if GFE can survive this deadly combat with this Moldorm. Which, to be fair, killing Moldorms with hammers kind of sucks. This is about the point in the seed where if I were running it, I would be complaining very loudly about how this would be a great spot to find the mirror, since that happens in the first half hour of every seed like clockwork, pretty much. Mirror being, I think, the seed that makes Crosskeys is the most interesting item in Crosskeys, and not just the best item, although I do think it is that as well. But I think it's a very interesting item to be able to have. Hexus, unfortunately, choosing the objectively incorrect route of Eastern Palace, since with the glove it's almost always better to route the Flute 5 spot first and then go up to Eastern and end at Saha. Although, they're going down to Pod. Did I miss them go to the Flute 5 spot? And am I just complete arse? I'm pretty sure I'm a complete ass.
It's okay, it's fine.
I'm still finishing up my dinner. We're going to blame that.
Yeah.
But I think one of the interesting skills that's going to come into play in this seed really is going to be how Woken runners actually track logic. Because there's going to be a lot of stuff that both runners are going to find here that I suspect are going to end up out of logic, with both runners having found at least one major item that is fairly out of sequence. Unless, of course, we find the... I guess the mids are now back in logic, and so GFEs, it's a little bit easier to track for him. Hexus basically needs to pile up on what things are actually locked behind these boots or not. Because that's going to do a lot to help put you back in logic if it does come to that.
That is a quite unfortunate spot for the old man save and quit front.
As I was saying earlier in this race, I hate the old man save and quit spot. I never try to get that because it's always terrible.
So, beginning the transition from early game to mid game, a lot of that is, I guess, sort of finding, like, in this case, they kind of have conventional Dark World access and very nice Dark World access too. But is it really? I mean, in this case, they've really had it's been famine for the most part. So this is just kind of like go as efficiently as possible, find your entrances. Hopefully, you find some items along the way. Is there anything in particular that would strike you, I guess, with this and sort of just do it as fast as possible? Like, you have no mirror, but in Hexus's case, you have boots. You can kind of just go through things quickly. If you're GFE, what are you trying to start to pull together at this point, kind of with these items? Or is there anything just like really major that stands out and like, hey, we want to do this with sort of the connectors that we have?
I want to find clusters of entrances, if I can, and I want to find entrances where I am not going to orphan things. I think those are the two things I'm really looking for right now. And obviously that's not always possible, and then I think a third goal here is, if I'm GFE, I want to be able to leverage these mitts. Like, for better or for worse, you made that play into Skull Woods. even if you do get your Moon Pearl in sequence, there's a good chance you don't immediately rush to Skullwoods. You kind of want that to be a thing as we see our second visible bottle of the seed. And so I think you just kind of want to do things in clusters. As I'm busy dying here, because you just want to find, whatever it will take to kind of put your routing into a more efficient play. As here's an interesting spot, because this is completable in logic even. In fact, very, very early in logic sphere-wise. We are going to see a setup for a Hera pot. Unfortunately, we're not going to see a new bread pot. Living near San Francisco, I must always support bread being used to hold things. That is, in fact, the rule. Either way, though, we're going to get a nice quick 5 out of 6 here from h3xodis.
Yeah, with the duplicated hair big key with that hookshot as well, just going to make everything even nicer. Not a considerable time save, but
this is about as nice of a way as you can find this dungeon.
Yeah.
You got both Hera big keys, you got a hammer to kill Moldorm with, and you don't have a small key to make you think about whether you want to do the basement. Like, it's just ideal. So meanwhile, GFE finding some other stuff that's fully in logic here, because we did have logical access to West Mountain. In the dam.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wonder, have we seen Smith House yet? I don't think we have.
We have seen Smith. It is at the tavern.
At the tavern, okay. GFE is kind of in a position where they can set up for a pretty decent sequence, as of course it's appended in Hera, of just like doing the Smith chain, saving and quitting, turning in Smiths, grabbing Purple Chest, doing a ton of stuff with Purple Chest, saving, quitting, and then you can kind of grab Dam's Purple Chest and then go to Desert Entrance. I mean, that's if you want to play that way. I can also understand saying, hey, you know what, I'm probably going to find a mirror. I'm going to be able to find better ways of doing some of this stuff, and I'm not going to worry about Smith or Purple Chest or any of this stuff. But either way, both runners kind of just doing on their own thing. I think this is kind of what really happens with seeds that have very, very early Moon Pearls logically, is that the game is open. And consequently, you can do a lot of things. GFE, meanwhile, getting spat out of the old man's house and finding that he is too poor to go back inside. Honestly, you hate to see it. Not that you ever were going to open the door anyway, but I mean, the principle of the thing.
Now Kiki taking a 10 rupee tax just because.
Yeah. GFE not doing my favorite strategy of just fucking carrying a bomb with you and letting it explode over your head to get rid of that fucker. See, Drosy, I finished my dinner. It is absolutely not swordless. And there is another important thing locked behind. Actually, surprised h3xodis took so long to get here. Although they've kind of been on a single, fairly clean route, and so it's not really that surprising. But they had the boots almost before they even started at sync. I think this is probably the second sign.
Yeah, I think this is the second time they've gotten back to sync. I think this is just kind of cleaning up these. I'm pretty sure they were on a trek afterwards, given all of the water shenanigans as well.
Yeah, the Moon Pearl, the water shenanigans. And I mean, like, it's just kind of Crosskeys. Like, say, you at some point you get presented with an overwhelming number of possibilities, and as you get better, you learn how to filter those possibilities down into what I want to do. And how do I partition the entire set of the places in the world that I want to go so that I can clear this optimally, or as closely to optimally as I can do with the information that I have. Which I think is the most interesting part of the game, other than being able to do fun things with the mirror.
I think this is sort of striking too, because I don't think that there are any really notably powerful connectors. I think the most interesting stuff we see, I think, is Desert getting us both to West Death Mountain as well as, I think it was Dark Sank. I can't remember what connector got Hex up to Spiral Cave entrance, but largely a lot of this has just been kind of, I mean, we saw like Hex basically just take conventional Dark World access to Flute 5 spot, right? So a lot of these are really not the most convenient connector. We don't see the kind of the cool, like, all right, Granny right next to Sank dropping me off someplace nice. You kind of got the connector hub.
You kind of got the midpoint here of you don't have anything that's like, oh my god, this connector is so great, I get to start at Old Man and it puts me in Bumper Cave and I can just route the world so efficiently. But at the same time, you don't really have all that many bad connectors either.
Right, sure.
Like, it's not like, oh, my only access to the mountain is by walking through Desert to walk through Hyrule Castle so that I can go through Super Bunny Cave. Real seed, by the way. And so you just kind of have a lot of just like very. I don't think there's really a lot of ways to use connectors super cleverly with what we've seen so far. Especially with the tools that both runners have available, and especially once both runners are going to pick up the mitts and boots, like, then I think it becomes really, really easy to route the seed almost for these runners, because you just kind of go to things and do them. I actually hate when my seed is like that. I like being able to play like, ooh, I'm going to use this whirlpool super cleverly, or things like that. But unfortunately not really what we're going to see today. And GFE is also going to follow in picking up this pendant relatively quickly here. Assuming no catastrophe at Moldorm. And as GFE is not me, I feel fairly confident he will not have a catastrophic Moldorm.
And also someone known for particularly heinous item sets, seeds, and the like, so I'm pretty sure that this is not uncomfortable for him, so...
Yeah. Say, meanwhile, Hex just going for the Old Man rescue. Got to get the value out of that pod start. So good. Hex just practicing a technique here that I love, which is and he found the back of Old Man.
Oh,
one that he thought. But if you notice, you can see the quick swapping triggering very, very quickly on Hexdis's screen. So for those of you who don't know, when you're in a screen transition, you can't change the quick swap. And so one of the cool little things you can do in dark rooms is if you just spam your quick swap button, you'll get a little beep 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 on every time the item changes. And that'll tell you when you go through a door, because the beeping will stop and your will to live will return. This is not a swordless seed. There is no swordless mode in this tournament because the tournament admins do not hate their players. Am I implying that anybody who runs any tournament with swordless as an option hates their players?
I don't know, Drosy. How much do you hate us?
You can do the math on that one. Either way, I think right now Hexdis probably has a slight edge. It's just easier to clear stuff faster when you have the boots than when you don't. Which is why I love the boots, and I think they're an awesome, fun item.
All things considered, though, obviously I think, boots memes notwithstanding, it's not as though I think GFE has really lost a lot of time. I think his route has been particularly efficient through things so far. the only thing we've really not seen on GFE's side might actually be EDM, which came up with just Mire, and I kind of like this as well, kind of knocking out the rest of East Arc World, right? Like getting over with this Fake Flipper to Dark Shopping Mall.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think the extra strength that the mitts give you is really helping GFE a little bit to sort of route the seed a little bit more efficiently and just be able to lift like the heavier rocks, move things a little bit better. I agree. I don't think I think GFE's at a small deficit. And honestly, if I'm GFE and you tell me, hey, your opponent's going to sequence break the boots at 8 minutes, and you are going to be an hour late to them, and by the time you get them, you are slightly behind, I think you're annoyed that you lose an hour of boots time, but I think you take that. And to be fair, it also actually helps GFE here that a sword has not shown up.
Yeah.
Because a sword showing up would greatly help the efficacy of the boots movement here for h3xodis.
I think that also maybe kind of goes back to what we were talking about too with the not egregiously bad connectors either. Like, because mobility feels a little bit more different in Crosskeys, generally speaking, right? Like, you're not always moving over the overworld, you're kind of moving through underworld, everything else is a bit different. And again, like you like I've said, he is definitely going to be behind, and the clock is ticking a considerable amount of boots time. But even still, the items and everything else are basically pound for pound.
Yeah, he's bleeding a little bit of efficiency. And I mean, if that's all that's happening when you don't have boots, then good. h3xodis still hasn't turned into the mushroom, have they?
No, they have not.
There's going to be a moment here where if h3xodis finds the potion shop that I'm going to get really smug and even more intolerable than usual. Just a fair warning here.
I'm used to it, so it's fine.
It looks like GFE is saying, hey, I don't have GT keys, so I want to go all the way down. And so he's going to have to skip the map chest here, which is, I think, pretty stock standard for how you tend to route this with 0 keys. And let me just say that GFE's options for fighting Armos here are truly horrid.
I remember a particularly ugly early Armos last year between Lynn and Illis, who both did the same grotesque boomerang Armos fight quite early on.
That also is... That pod key there that h3xodis found is kind of interesting in 2 different ways. One is which it means everything that is 6 key locked in pod is actually locked by 10 small keys, because you also need the Turtle Rock key. As those are 2 very nice safeties for GFE to pick up here before they do the awful fight that's coming up here. However, it is also notable that you have 4 of 6 pod keys right now, which makes them a little bit suspicious. And you have 3 of the 4 Total Rock keys.
Right.
And there are the flippers in... Oh, yeah. GFE mana after my heart using the bomb boost strat to get through this.
Okay, that's a really cool strat. Holy moly.
I do that one a little bit differently, but yeah, it feels very, very fun to be able to do this. And we will see what GFE's weapon of choice here is. You got hammer and you got boomerang, and I gotta be honest, both of them are terrible. Is he hoping to use bombs? He must be hoping to use bombs, actually. Or at least I assume that's why he's loading up before this fight. Which I don't actually hate here. I can't tell you the last time I've done bomb Armos Knights, but...
I can't tell you when I've ever seen it, so yeehaw.
By the way, I have actually no confirmation that bombs actually damage Armos Knights. I'm pretty sure they do. They tend to damage most of the things early on, but I believe it is 48 boomerang hits per statue. And yes, the fight is exactly as awful as it sounds. So this is actually kind of interesting resource management here from GFE to try to get some of this splash hit in. I don't know what damage class bombs do to Armos Knights. I would guess
bombs do 4 damage.
1?
So yes,
okay.
Yeah. So with 12 bombs splashes.
So that'll actually reduce the time here pretty significantly. So this is actually pretty heads-up resource management. Meanwhile, Hextus here is on his way to hit the gym for himself. And I gotta say, it's good that one of us is doing it, because I skipped the gym to be able to do comms for this race.
The sky outside is yellow for me right now, so I can't make it to the gym, so it's perfectly fine.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Canada.
I'm sure that's what's stopping you.
Okay. Okay. I need Days to step in right now.
I believe Hammer and Bombs and Fighter Sword all do the same amount of damage to Armos Knights. I believe they all do 4 damage / class 1 / class 3, because let's just say Light World boss damage tables are kind of jank. And so, I mean, the Hammer hit is worth 4 Boomerang hits, but also the Hammer hit lets you do 4 times as much damage. But the Boomerang is a lot easier to use. We'll see. Alright, 12 more for GFE, and my break's about to be over here as Hextus is still cleaning out Skullwoods. Notable that Hextus doesn't end up coming back in here with either the Fire Rod or the Big Key, so it's not like he gets an advantage over GFE in terms of what's being orphaned here. And GFE really hoping to find something here after that long fight. And I gotta be honest, that's probably not what you were hoping for.
Yeah.
But does get it done. Meanwhile, Hextus picks up that second glove, which, I mean, as we said, is just a lot stronger to have than the first glove. And so that's okay for him, and now Hextus is going to be able to route a lot of things. So I think the main difference at this point, GFE's done left side GT, Hextus has done a little bit more world exploration, and also has found those flippers in Turtle Rock, which GFE has not. And also, I am personally very, very suspicious of Pod right now.
Right.
But we would have to find it first for that to matter.
Although we are beginning to run out of easily accessible entrances as well. Like, we are about to South Dark World, and that's about it.
Yep.
If my tracking is right, yeah. Great that we are still missing a couple of connectors, which could get us interesting places.
So we're missing connectors. We also, a little suspiciously, have flippers and mitts all in play. I don't think the Turtle Rock was in a boots lock spot, right?
No, it was in, I believe, the Hammer Hut in Vu. So it was in, accessible in Build's Routcast.
Yeah. Okay. And hey, there's the bottom of Paradox Cave, so you don't need to worry about following that later. But I also want to be I wouldn't be surprised to see GFE find something important here, for instance, in this dungeon that happens to unlock a lot of things. Because, like you said, we're getting down to the dregs a little bit here. Between the two runners, at least. Both runners have a lot of stuff individually, but...
I mean, I imagine this is also the time, too, where you start to resolve connectors, right? Like that, for instance, we did just see bottom of Paradox, but like if you saw potentially a... and both these runners actually, I think, were able to do, saw all 3 sides of Spectre. Like, things like this would happen. And there's a sword, so...
That's big. Although Hextus is choosing to not pick up the smiths here, it looks like. That actually surprises me because it's pretty free to just grab the smiths, regardless of whether you ultimately decide you're going to use them or not. But is at least going to clean up the rest of this South Dark World area. And unless it's that desert big, it does not look like the answer for GFE is the Eastern Palace play, since this chest is out of logic.
Mm-hmm. My least favorite cave to find at all, anywhere.
Yep. Worst entrance in the game. Unless I'm playing Dazed Cloud, in which case it is my favorite entrance in the game. I hope Dazed Cloud is still here, because he's going to get so triggered. Oh, and there is the Palace of Darkness I said previously I was super suspicious of.
So one of h3xodis's 4 pod smalls is actually 4 TR blocked, right? So
Correct. He only has 3 in logic, but he also has 3 Turtle Rock smalls, and so it's not hard to pull a number 4 into play. And so I would not be surprised to find that 4th key is accessible somewhere. And Hextus, I'm assuming, is heading to do the clip. And I wonder if Hextus is trying to set up to clear the whole dungeon here? I'm pretty fervently in the just open the door camp, but and now I'm just sad that Dazed Cloud wasn't here, because we had in a couple tournaments ago we had ooh, these are nice unbuffered clips by Hextus.
Yep.
That was a real smooth clip. We played each other in playoffs in the bracket a couple years ago, and both races Spike Cave had the fire rod. And he was not happy the second time, because that was the item he missed the first time.
Really briefly, I wanted to talk something. So the preset for this tournament is a little bit different. Would you mind talking about that while we have a couple minutes here? And well, I would say we have a couple minutes here.
Are you telling me I'm not allowed to just sit here and opine about the majesty of the mirror?
Go ahead, please. I'm gonna shut up. I apologize.
No, I mean, so we're playing on 100% locations accessibility instead of 100% inventory. Effectively, all this really means is that keys cannot lock themselves here. And so, absent a bug in the code, which we are not aware of, you cannot find a pod small key in pod big key chest. You can't find a pod small key in Hellway. I think most saliently, you can't find a Thieves Town small key in the big chest. Right. So you should always be able to tell if your Thieves Town is actually in logic when you do it. And also, Skullwoods and Swamp Palace big keys should not be able to be self-locked. Yep, and here comes GFE doing Mire. And so I think, I mean, we turns out those things hurt. And speaking of things that hurt, that big key kind of hurts too. I mean,
no Samaria, right?
6 of 8 Mire is one of the most efficient dips in the game.
Unfortunately, it won't even be 6 of 8, right? Because
isn't a fire? Yeah, this is unfortunate. And especially if you're in a position where you don't have a much cleaner Mire 2 here, Swordless from GFE. That was a really nice one.
Yeah.
But it's at least a pretty decent play. I think now we're gonna start seeing the gap widen a little bit for Hextus because of not just there's the Ice Rod that is 6 key lock, so a very, very valuable Palace of Darkness here.
But it's fascinating for killing Trinex. the 4 key locked in TR to get the 6. Yeah. Anyway.
Yep. Yeah, and so I think this was one of those things where Telethor kind of brought it up at one point, and it's just like, hey, in Crosskeys, why don't we do this? And everyone just kind of looked at it and said, huh, I have no idea. And then I asked the other admins, I'm like, hey, what do you guys think about this? Everyone's like, yeah, that sounds cool. pretty much the entire story. I apologize that it's not more
No.
interesting, but...
Well, it's kind of fascinating too, and the thought was, while we're here, not really that it happened all that frequency, but like the 6th pod small, for instance, being in these chests, right? That was kind of just the errant thought, but also things like what you've mentioned too, which are incredibly poignant. I guess not having potentially obfuscated logic is just nicer for the runners, right? It seems just like a really nice quality of life, all things considered.
I definitely agree. And Hexdis is in fact going for the big loop-de-loop here in pod. Which, I mean...
You have feelings on.
I have feelings on. I mean, to Hexdis's credit, their Mimic Clip is very smooth and clean. And so you at least get that of it. I still don't think it's worth it. I think your Mimic Clip could be instant, and I still don't think this play is worth it. But, I mean, regardless, I think now we're going to start seeing GFE lose time here. Pretty substantially until he gets to pod. I think the good news for him is he's running pretty low on stuff he can do. And I mean, we've seen Ice Palace, but we also know it's boots locked, which I think is good for him that he's not going to be drawn into that play with that Bombos Medallion. But this mirror is going to be important here.
Yeah, I think now the mirror and the boots for kind of cleaning up.
And the sword.
And a sword.
Like just your ability to traverse the world here of your Hexadis is about as good as it gets, absent having a flute.
And I think the one thing that really this now opens back up for Hexadis, which we haven't seen yet, is Dark Death Mountain. I think that has now really uncovered that, because I don't think we have any unresolved connectors that can potentially get us in the Mire area. So, oh, well, more dungeons also to clear too, so.
I think that is true, yeah. Raising a good point that this is about as unorphanable of an Ice Palace big chest as it gets, absent just literally walking by it. Hexadis takes the death here and is going to have to go for chest 3 and 4 a non-standard way.
Or just leave the dungeon. I mean, you've already opened one, it's,
Please don't do that. That's asking to lose. Alright, so GFE gonna track down the flippers now. And hopefully is going to not even bother thinking about killing the pokies, because you have enough keys to Turtle Rock that there's virtually no chance that you can ever need them. But GFE basically needs to get on the path of this mirror. And then hopefully for him, it will lead to the Desert Small sooner rather than later. Because, especially with that Desert Big Key, that makes the Desert Revisit a very, very promising play.
Right.
And here is it. And I mean, now with the mirror, connectors become really powerful. And especially connectors to places that you potentially haven't seen. So, right. I don't think we've seen Floating Island yet.
We've not seen Floating Island.
We haven't seen... I don't think we've seen Bumper Cave yet. So both of those must connects are still Hexadis?
We have seen Bumper.
Better be really, really okay. I mean, if you're that confident, sure. What? Okay.
Huh.
Okay.
We have seen Bumper Cave, by the way. We have seen that must connect. As well as getting us to the top of Bumper, so.
Okay. Although getting to the top of Bumper then becomes an option as well. And that is a... Yeah, I actually agree with Zarvin. That looked a lot more like a flex to me than a forget.
Although Hex has not seen that connector to top of Bumper, so they will be able to do that in one fell swoop, because that was Super Bunny from the Dark Shopping Mall area, so which they will be heading there right soon.
We'll see. Is this the Zora? Because Hexadis still hasn't made the Zora play, right?
Correct.
And so I think what this could be is this could be Hylia or the Fairy Island here into Ice Palace into Zora, and then cut your route there. Or they could leave Ice Palace and say, hey, I'm going to do Dark Shopping Mall. Nope, okay, we're going to Ice Palace. Totally fine with this play. What? TR4? 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 Close enough. Got the job done. You knew what I meant.
Yeah, no, I know.
And again, this is why I don't like doing the both side pod, because you're usually going to find that key. To their credit, they only went through twice instead of 3 times.
Boots are not in logic. We still do not have the desert small. So that was the boots are on desert right side. We don't. We have, I think, one. We have one small key. No, I think actually, I take it back. We've resolved all of our like visible small keys, so we just have no idea where that could be. It could be anywhere.
I think the only visible small key we had was on the library, which
Yeah,
we saw
obviously.
Hexdisc get, and also I think was unlikely to be the desert small because that's Boots lock.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
This sort of logic reading is why I get the big bucks.
Boots lock small key cannot lock boots. Got it.
Tell that to my ladder seed that had boots on GT Torch. We had starting boots. It wasn't broken.
Yeah.
It was just a meme.
Yeah.
So Hex, also a man of my heart, with the accidentally missed the shovel spot the first time. Another very classic move, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think GFE, you were. Which is incredibly unfortunate because that mirror is literally GFE's next entrance. That's
really unfortunate. And I think there's a chance that ends up... I mean, he can get there trivially. We'll see. If he goes back quickly, it's going to end up not being a big deal in either direction.
Right.
If he doesn't, it's going to become a progressively larger deal as the seat goes on. And I hope he goes back there quickly. TR4? Come on, game.
Really quickly, though, I want to say thank you to our trackers who are making it easy for us. Doing the thinking so we don't have to, yeah.
Haha, I can do this. Let's go.
Sammy and Tom, thank you so much for this because makes our lives considerably easier.
Absolutely. Since without you, I wouldn't be saying TR4, I'd be saying TR1.
TR integer. But well, and this is okay. So what's nice thing about Hex's Rise is kind of very cleanly wrapping up what's left of the overworld that's not the mountain now. This will be GT and Dark Shopping Mall. This will be that Super Bunny that will get us to the top of Bumper. And I think I think at this point too, we really have left whatever entrances are up on the mountain in terms of I think we're missing 1 2-item cave. I think we've seen the majority of our dungeons, but we're still missing like a fire source. We're still missing a Samaria. And
we're not missing Bombos though.
This is true.
Which is not a fire source, but it's not
a fire source. Right, yeah, but right. The unfortunate part is that GFE has that will very not be able to get to Ice Palace anytime soon, though.
Yeah. I mean, so far, kind of unluckily for GFE, the boots haven't really looked anything. And I mean, GFE's going to make up some time here because Hexus hasn't touched GT yet.
Yep.
And so all of this is going to be in play. Does have a small key, so might decide to pick up the map chest and is going to be able to get Cane of Burna as well. Not really that important, especially if you can pick up a bottle or two, because play if you're GFE, you can just sequence break Spike Cave and not take the time to run over here and get Burna. Which I think is the more likely case to happen if they do Spike Cave out of, or they do say I'm gonna do Spike Cave, which is again a terrible check, but it's one of those checks that you just gotta do sometimes. I would say, and I don't think the point is that you don't care about medallions in ER, rather than you don't care about medallions that aren't Bombos in ER. Because Bombos unlocks Ice Palace, and so that actually ends up still being a pretty big deal. It is right now kind of the one thing that GFE, and I suspect we'll probably be able to continue hanging on as long as, or at least Cane of Samaria. Although with it being a pendant, Cane of Samaria probably isn't all that attractive for Hextus either. Alright, and GFE going to turn in Purple Chest here. This is obviously a check that feels awful to do without the mirror. And without the flute. Like this just doesn't feel good for GFE. And we do finally see GFE get to check on the swamp. Or the dam. Ooh. And that's the big key of Turtle Rock. So that's kind of a bad spot for Hextus. Like, that's one that could take him a while to get to, depending on his options. And I think it kind of depends on his sort of fee as well. Unless he gets funneled into it. But I think a lot of times I'm going to be caring about entrances more than I seeds.
Right.
And by early on, I mean when I'm not like in the late game. And so Purple Chest as a standalone isn't all that appealing under that case. But we'll see.
I think especially like when you have this sort of wealth of options, which I suspect are going to be like we've talked about, are going to open up with Dark Death Mountain available and everything else.
Ooh. Okay, well he has Cane of Burna, so it doesn't really.
Yeah.
But otherwise, that half heart he just took from the bomb would have really sucked. Although he is doing this early. So when you're doing this, if you wait for the Armos to get in position, then they'll start spinning and you can kind of gather all of them up at once. Here you have to, with this strategy, you kind of have to wait to kill them. You have half magic, it doesn't really matter. But Burna, arguably the second best weapon in the game for Armos after the bow. But that's the very disappointing GT Hextus done. And there's another big key, and this one is the big key to Ganon's Tower.
Oh, no.
With the position of that GT, that does not look like something I am eagerly revisiting if I'm either of these. The only other argument I can make besides Burna is sword beams. If you don't have half magic, and or if you have magic concerns in some other way. I mean, honestly, even when you get the fire rod, it's not like that's a really bad spot to get back to. Absent a dungeon being next to it or a connector taking you there, but I don't think we have any of that here.
Where is
Hextus? Is I assume going to Pyramid from here.
Well, this is just a hobo check, right?
This might be hobo. I assume this is hobo into Pyramid.
Pyramid to Pyramid, yeah. I feel like maybe I'm misremembering. He didn't check Super Bunny? Peek that it was there? Because it's a one-way.
Yeah, I don't think he went through, did he?
No.
I don't think he's from the bottom of it.
Well, because the bottom of it is bumper top. So.
Oh, you're right. Okay, yeah, no, he hasn't.
Okay, that cool.
I mean, that may or may not be relevant for Hexus. Like at this point, I think you can make good arguments just saying like, "Hey, smash your face into any connector."
Right.
Because the mirror makes it fairly valuable. Although without the flute, there's still at least a cost. Opts to not pick up the cape. I can't tell if that's skipping. We've only seen the. Have we only seen the bottom of Bumper Cave, or
we've seen the top and bottom. Top was at Saha, and then bottom
then there's no real value at this point. Sorry, I know your notes are a little bit more organized than mine are because you weren't stuffing your face when this race started.
You're goddamn right. Oh, GFE, this mirror.
Okay. Does get to come here with 5 keys, though, so isn't going to have to play right side loop-de-loop or anything. Is just going to get to go straight for the mirror. Which I suspect will feel at least a little bit good. It will be a little bit of time reclaimed. So yeah, I mean, I think if the 72-minute in summary is basically GFE is behind. It is no longer, I think, a small amount of behind, but it's not an overwhelming deficit either.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I think that if you are hoping for GFE to pull a win here, you want it to be on sort of one of these outs, because Hexus has kind of orphaned or put in bad situations several of these spots that GFE access to. And so, like, that Thieves Town... Oh no, Thieves Town Big Key was Hexus. The Turtle Rock Big Key, though, is pretty big.
Which I believe he's going to soon, or they're going to soonish. No, sorry, that was at
That was a
Castle.
Purple Chest.
What was on? There was a big key on Magic Bat. GT Big, right? All right. Yep.
And the Bombos also could be potentially a big deal, especially if it does lock the Fire Rod and Lamp. And then you're forced into that Fireless Mire Dip, which Hexus has already passed on. I mean, that being said, Hexus is getting to the point where there isn't a ton of really good options available. And so we might see them make that play. Soon. That being said, they do have the ability to traverse several of these connectors with the mirror and check entrances that we haven't really yet. Although I'm not sure what's out there that seems super valuable.
If I'm not mistaken, we have a couple 2-item, or we have one of the fairies left. I don't think we have any 5-item caves left.
I don't think we have any dungeons.
We have TR right outstanding, I believe.
Sure, but all that
Sure,
that's what I'm saying is like there isn't really an entrance other that's moving the.
Yeah.
It's all 1 or 2 items and not a lot of things. And so I think what we're going to see here, and I mean, Hexus is probably going to say, hey, I need to start clearing some of these dungeons. But it is potentially going to some hole for GFE to slide in on. Like, Hexus is going to orphan the Thieves Town Big Chest. GFE will not orphan the Thieves Town Big Chest. That's pretty much unambiguous at this point, since GFE has the Thieves Town Small Key and Hexus doesn't. The Bombos is in Myerzaf.
Okay. Wanted to double check on that, but yeah.
It was on Bridge Chest and Myerzaf.
Bridge Chest, okay.
GFE had the hookshot when he found it and opted for it, whereas Hexus only had the out of logic boots and so said no thank you. And GFE does pick up the ice rod now, at least. So I think at this point, if everything is just kind of on the way, there's very to do. If that is not the case, GFE has plenty of outs. Because there have been a pretty good amount of holes in the route.
I mean, at some point, too, we also have to kind of resolve that desert right as well, because it's blocking at least Ice Palace, so I do believe it's a crystal, right? So at some point,
yep,
it does have to kind of come back into play. It's a matter of when.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately for GFE, you're running on now of almost. You're ticking up towards 70 minutes of being bootsless compared to your opponent, which, if you follow the sort of standard numerical grading scale, puts you at roughly a 7-minute deficit.
Oh no.
We'll see. That might be interesting though, because that you can get forced into that. We'll obviously see, because that's just in logic between the two runners.
Yes.
But I always think the one on the left is the one who always tells the truth. I gotta be honest. It's not because I'm left-handed.
I did not know that about you. Interesting.
Yep. Head's been checked. It's dead. I'm saying, I mean, I think this is the absolute natural follow-up play here from Hexodus.
Yeah, 100%.
You get that fire rod from a pendant boss. Is this... I say that should have been Death Mountain Descent, right?
Yes, that was Death Mountain Descent.
Have we seen either side of that?
I think we've only seen that side. I think what I thought was that earlier was actually the Back of Old Man, which GFE has... I think GFE figured it out, because GFE was doing some boomerang shenanigans and kind of figured out the lay of the land early, and then Hexodus reversed it.
Very useful map there. Definitely going to move the needle there for GFE. I think there's a neat little route here from GFE. You can just use this to quickly get back to Thieves Town, or to Vu from where you were, which is going to let you uncheck some of these orphans that you may have had. With the mirror and similar, GFE going to make the play for Crystal Roller now.
I think GFE is very rapidly running out of things left. Again, I think we've talked about like what entrances are possibly out there and everything else, but we said earlier the dregs, but we are very much kind of there at this point.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that we're not... There's a lot of connectors that haven't had their mirror side explored yet.
Right.
That I think could still give an item or two. But obviously GFE is going to need to track down this. And, I mean, to be fair, Hexodus is going to have to track down this Desert Small, too.
Right,
like,
yeah, no, absolutely.
You're not getting away without this Desert Small. I really thought that was going to be it, too. But that's a pretty big find, too. Especially if the cane is in Swamp Palace, which is not unlikely at this point.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden that Turtle Rock Big Key is going to loom larger, which is both good and bad for GFE. It's good because it gets you access to more items, but it is bad because it means this is likely funneled back there. I went to get a drink. Did I miss anything in the map, Justin Swamp?
You did not.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, this is the sad reality of having no small keys for Ice Palace. And 7, I can confirm that statistic. I am in fact one of the dexterous ones as well. Ambly, if you will. I'm not also going to deny being sinister, because that is very much true, but... that's nothing you feel like finding in this seed.
That won't be that terrible to get back to, smiley face.
Well,
Okay.
Bombos almost locked both sources of fire, in that it locked half of the sources of fire. But I mean, still just a very nice item to have for routing purposes. Like, I think both these runners are pretty proficient in dark rimming, but it's still faster to be able to see.
Yeah, conveniencing.
For instance, if I could see, I'd be allowed to drive more than 10 miles an hour, but I can't, so... I mean, what?
Well, huh.
Get off the roads, everybody! Anyway, Hexus coming here for the Cold Stare fight after what has to be a frustratingly slow Ice Palace. GFE probably hoping to find something in left side swamp. Especially because I think, given how the seed sets out, it wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world if this skip for Hexodus. Just with... If it does lock the cane, I guess, is more likely. And we are actually joined by Swamp Palace in chat. Hello, Swamp Palace. You seem to have somebody inside you right now, which is a little bit awkward.
Keeping these streams as PG as possible, smiley face.
We have no fucking directive for that.
This isn't speed gaming.
This is absolutely not a family-friendly stream. That went away as soon as people said, yes, I can do commentary.
Been doing my best to keep it PG. I did so many main tourney comms that now I'm conditioned not to swear.
Why do you think I don't do main tourney?
I know.
Honestly, my single memory of the main tournament remains a scene where I forgot to rescue Zelda in Standard and somehow eked out a win, but we're on 10-minute delay, so I finished, and I see in the chat Drossi say something along the lines of, like, so how many accidental F-bombs is Allison going to drop? And just to spite him, there were 0 accidental ones.
Yeah, they're all purposeful. Okay, so Hexus, I think, finally doing the thing we were talking about in terms of what entrances were potentially left. Also, hilariously, getting to our bottles with sick kid unresolved.
We're about to get our first bottle, everybody. And yes, Tsura boots are at right side Desert Palace. Okay. Whatever, game. Get out of here. We're done with your crap game. I told you I was going to be
I know.
sluggish. Shit, and I've been waiting for 70 minutes to really smug out about that.
I can't even remember where we got that godforsaken.
I do. It was in Ice Rod Cave at Link's House Bonk Rocks.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Okay, game, we get it. You got bottles and you got jokes. And also, this Swamp Palace is a travesty.
Yeah, that Swamp Palace was.
Which, as we explained, is either good or bad for GFE.
Yeah. Swamp Palace is a Hindenburg of ass, just hot air and disappointment.
That's a good point. Hey, Swamp Palace's mom. Swamp Palace is a travesty. There we go. Now I said it to your mother instead of to you. I mean, what?
Good lord. We're getting aggressive all of a sudden. Smiley face.
I'm still in smug mode for the mushroom.
At some point, we picked up a flute, and I assume it was in Swamp. It wasn't paying any god for...
It must have been in Swamp.
Must have been in fucking Swamp. I was too busy being a smug piece of shit for a while. Okay, so
I was
it's
too busy laughing at that mushroom.
Yeah, admittedly, it was in Swamp. It kind of had to be, so...
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's good for GFE to have this flute, but it's also like, it just gets deeper and deeper towards this Desert Small that has to be. And to be fair, Hexodus, like, has to know these boots are out of logic. You can track this stuff, and you can actually make routing decisions, and so, like, keeping those things in mind can actually help you identify where some of this. And on the other hand, GFE getting bottle number 4. So this might be one of the only times I've ever seen all 4 bottles have been gotten. None of the bottles have been gotten twice.
Someone called Jinxie Girl. She's tingling, like, huh, should be tracking something.
We have a disjoint set of bottles here.
I hate that so much.
Do you have a better term?
No, it's in fact technically correct, which your smug ass appreciates.
And our reward for the bottle quest is a guy handing us a bundle of sticks, which, while my dog would appreciate that, I don't think others do. But let me tell you, my dog fucking loves some sticks. Which is a thing I shouldn't talk about, because anytime I start talking about my dog, we are very, very susceptible to have me never stop talking. Shout out to my dog, who is chilling in the other room with air conditioning while I sweat it out here.
I am shocked. I figured GFE would have cleared out Desert at some point.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised they didn't do it when they went to Vu and got that Swamp Small. That being said, GFE doesn't know that it's a crystal yet, so maybe they're just being extra reserved on that.
Also, this is cute. Thank you, game. This is exactly what I wanted. Alright, the Law of Chicken Hut. When you find it late, it will obviously pay out big. When you find it earlier, it's just nonsense.
It will pay out nothing.
Pay out absolutely nothing. Ignore me.
I mean, that's true, Tummeldeck. The thing I will say in GFE's defense is there isn't really a pressing need to... Of course it's the big key of Skullwoods. Why wouldn't it be the big key of Skullwoods?
100% location, smiley face.
I mean, that is 100% location. Also, please don't swallow your microphone. I don't think that claim came through as clear as you were hoping it would. I've heard you do it on stream, and so I'm actually surprised how garbled it got there.
Yeah,
It got
apologies.
really garbled.
I don't know what happened with that one.
Yes, sorry, that's right. That was ASMR. It was very relaxing.
Yeah, Zeus ASMR.
It's here!
Oh, baby, let's go.
Holy crap, that sucks!
That's miserable. So anyway.
Speaking of things that suck...
Oh, God. Okay. Well.
So, Flexidus continues the hovering train. I actually got contacted by your mother's lawyer, Swamp, and I've been asked to not make any further comments, so I'm from commenting on the rest of the stream. You hate to see it, but legalese gonna legalese.
Trez has been served papers at 4 in the morning and now is panicking.
Yeah, I discovered today that, or I discovered this week that if you ping Trez, it will wake him up.
Hmm.
When I asked him to change a form at 4 in the morning his time. He was less than thrilled with me.
Notably, we're still missing left side Meyer in terms of... So, okay, like at this point, we'll take stock of what we have not seen from either runner. And I think that's effectively 2 checks and left side Meyer. I'm struggling to think of what's left. Like, I'm sure there are things, but...
There is not a lot left for sure.
I think there's 1 chest in front of one in Castle Tower that we've not seen. We do have 1 Castle Tower small.
Yep. And that should be in logic now combined with the 2 runners.
Yes.
Hex just gets up to Zora finally and does get that pod key, and there is number 6.
Yeah,
there is still the mushroom.
Yeah, the mushroom smiley face. Thieves big chest. Flexidus I really...
Yeah, Flexidus checks shovel spot. I really hate Goomba for that, by the way.
Yeah, Goomba's just gone.
Goomba just like left to watch the anime is like, look what I did. Fucking shithead.
The other question now is, what will it take to get GFE back over to Desert Right, which could be after Meyer, since Desert Left is on West Death Mountain over here. But that could also just be after a Old Man Save and Quit too, so we do have some options for that. But I think
you also could just see walk to Castle, get to Vu from there, do Lianmo. Oh no, you can't do Lianmo, you don't have fire. Wow, that's horrendous.
Oh, that's right, yeah, never mind. That, for some reason, kind of forgot about all that whole fire situation. Because Flexus has been hoarding all the fire.
Yep. I can't believe all the fires in Hex.
Oh, for the love of fucking God.
That is kind of gross. Except, supposedly, Hexodus is super comfortable hovering Trinex. So this might actually not be a required cane for Hexodus if there's nothing on GT right.
No, I'm not okay. I am really not okay.
To be fair, that's a pre-existing condition before this stream.
Yeah, that's happened more than once, don't worry.
I know when I'm doing something like this, and especially when I'm running down to the bottom of my options, what are the items I might find? And you always have that moment of like, all right, what if the cane is vanilla? I'm sure that one won't happen.
I've been burned by that more times than I'd like to admit in Rando, because I that item vanilla just.
Well, here comes Hexodus to, I assume, 8 of 8 Mire. Although
Yeah.
Look, I don't play NMG. Vanilla items scare me. Vanilla ice cream, on the other hand, is fucking lit.
No, it's B tier. It is the status quo of ice creams.
Vanilla ice cream is at least A tier. Chocolate is B.
Oh no.
Exactly. Status quo of ice cream is chocolate. Vanilla is A tier.
No,
Thank you.
vanilla is foundational. It is the base of all good ice cream. It is just okay by itself.
Are you out here talking like strawberry ice cream isn't good?
Yeah, strawberry ice cream is what happens when everything else is gone and you're just left with a sad-ass pint of strawberry ice cream.
Do you just buy Neapolitan and, like, eat it by the third?
No, I don't buy Neapolitan because I have class!
GFE looks very behind because Hexodus sequence broke his boots at 7 minutes wall kicks. Or 12 minutes or something. And I'm just going to pretend that Zaf doesn't exist for the rest of this stream, so I'm just going to talk over him because I can't believe you actually just fucking insulted strawberry ice cream.
I'd like to sub out and have someone else take over comms for me. This is too hostile. I'm also going to drop from the Crosskeys tournament because the admins have it out for me.
You can't drop from the Crosskeys tournament, I just removed you.
Oh, shit. It happened again.
Mr. Anderson, what good is a phone call? Alright, well, the good news for Hexodus is now that Swamp Small is in play too without the Turtle Rock Big. The bad news for Hexodus is now that Swamp Small is in play without the Turtle Rock Big. Also, for anyone who's a League of Legends watcher, you can tell that Zaf and I are both LCK watchers because we just sit there and enjoy the banter instead of actually talking about what's going on.
I'm be honest, y'all. The seed doesn't matter. This is just another opportunity for us to hang out, which happens quite regularly anyway. So,
I mean, it matters a lot to GFE and Hexodus.
Does it?
I'm not sure. I think GFE might end up deleting this one from his memory.
Yeah. I think GFE is not having a good time. I think if I have to watch Hexodus hover TR, I will.
You're not going to.
I mean, yeah, I know.
I actually, honestly, with what happened at Hookshot Cave, we might still watch Hexodus hover TR, but...
Yeah, no, I know. I was like, one check away, but...
I don't even need this Hookshot. Alright, well, good news for GFE is Hexodus is also following to the Vitreous train. Bad news for GFE is Hexodus has Lamp and Tempered Sword, and so this entire sequence will just be a little bit smoother. The good news for GFE, though, is I think he's going to beat Hexodus to having 4 bottles. The bad news for GFE is there is no prize for having 4 bottles first. Glad I could help, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, John Madden. I know there was talk, I think, for main tournament, about like having one of those sort of like evaluation bars where the commentators could like tell like roughly for the audience like what they think, like how they think people are doing. I just want to be able to draw on it, like just legitimately John Madden style. Just confuse people.
Just let me like draw the like, boom! Right here! This is where the fireball hits him and dies! And boom! That's the time loss as he holds diagonal door.
Oh, no.
Friendly reminder, do not hold diagonal into the wrong doors in this game. You will lose time, you will age, your hair will go gray, it will fall out, your loved ones will...
You get very angry messages from people who have taught you how to
An
play the
average
game.
frustrated gamer will rage or twitch, you know.
Oh, to go. All right, so cardinal directions.
Honestly, you just hate to see it all the way. Do you really have to ask who the first person to do it intentionally would be? Come on.
Homemade beer.
Wow, no faith in me. Alright, this is actually going to be one of GFE's outs too.
I don't believe GFE has the big key.
You're right, he doesn't. He hasn't done Hobo yet.
It's like I'm putting a lot of blind faith in our trackers here, so I don't think he's gone the hobo.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I just kind of assumed when he found it that he would have the big key, but you're right, he doesn't. GFE very, very urgently needs to think the words Desert Palace really loudly in his head.
Or
Basically, he needs to crack open a can of, what's the sparkling water brand?
Spindrift?
No, the like flavored sparkling water that tastes like garbage.
Oh, I don't know.
LaCroix.
Oh,
There we go. GFE needs to crack open a LaCroix with the flavor being someone once yelled Thieves Town into this can.
So luckily for GFE, we missed in all of our antics and nonsense that he actually had gone to hobo. So
I still think the best description of LaCroix I've ever seen is
yeah.
it was some Twitter post that was like someone thought the name of a fruit and yelled it really loudly in a can. Alright. Anyway. This is gonna be, like I said, this is gonna be one of GFE's outs here. And GFE's just going to be down check for check. Like, I don't see a world where GFE doesn't, if they both go to the end and have to check everything, at this point GFE has lost so much time on a raw boots move. I don't see a
and unfortunately, this is going to be. Well, this is
no.
still GT
Unfortunately
big.
for Hexus, this is
Yeah.
the GT big.
Yes, I keep thinking that. Yeah, no, purple chest is our TR big key. So.
But I mean, that is the kind of play that Hexus might make that GFE may never make. Obviously not right now. Well, actually, obviously, again, he hovered hookshot cave with a hookshot. He probably won't mimic clip up GT without a bow. It seems likely to me. All right. So big moment here in this race, and so I'm going to stop verbally shitposting for 2 seconds. And verbal shitpost is back on. Unfortunately, GFE has run into the frostbite paradox of if you do Thieves Town Big Chest, it has nothing, and if you skip it, it has everything. Literally, one seed I had the mirror, the boots, both gloves, and both bows inside the Thieves Town Big Chest. It was pretty rough.
God bless Frostbite. I hope he's doing okay.
Oh, shout out to Canadians everywhere. Except for the ones in Canada. Alright, but yeah, we're gonna see. So yeah, Hexus still coming in here with a healthy lead, making a return to Ganon's Tower, which is gonna net 5 items here. And I mean, I get it makes sense. Like you're kind of in the position where you're like, hey, I put it in logic. I went right side. Why not? And then you get the big key, and it really just kind of sends you here. But like honestly, like this is a super reasonable play. It sucks that you I might hold off on this until I had a bow if I could swing it, but I absolutely understand the play.
I mean, I do think we're back down to the least of all evils, which at this point is going to be your raw checks, like your density, right? Because I think that we've talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
And currently, like, we know where the Swamp Small is, and it will be kind of obnoxious for Hex to get to at the moment, but that's, I think, their next largest sort of density
if
on
we
this.
take
Yeah.
inventory right now, I think the only item we don't know the location of is the Eastern Big and the bow.
Yep. You know, we haven't seen
I'm wondering if there's a chance. Sorry, what have we not seen?
Hyrule Castle Small, by the way,
Yeah,
or Castle Tower 2, which is also
That's true.
something.
and both of those would be very, very interesting.
Sorry, I did not mean to interrupt. Please continue.
All right, that's an interesting find for GFE.
Oh, baby.
Unfortunately, that could also be a Go Climb GT find for. I mean, really, GFE wants to be making different plays from this point. I think that's probably his best play. I mean, yeah, I get Days Cloud's back. He obviously had to do shame when he realized how bad the Skullwoods play. Like, we all get it. Okay. Okay, never mind. I was about to pause this. I'm like, is Hexus potentially going to climb GT? I'm screaming.
Flexidus?
I think there was a chance of this because this GT is in a garbage spot. And so you can kind of understand why someone might do this.
Okay, as a question from like student to mentor, and like this is something that I feel like makes a little bit more sense. You've got to start trying to trace back to things that make logical sense. This seems like such a far cry from what you ought to be doing. Like, yes, it's in a bad location, but with a lot of bad options, I feel like this is around the time you'd want to start kind of drifting back to the logic, correct?
I think yes on the whole. That being said, I think at this point, if you're Hexus, you're faced with a choice. You say, I'm either going to sequence break GT climb right, or I'm going to last location climb. Because this sucks to get back to. I never want to come back here. And so from that perspective, like, I don't think this is a bad play. I don't even think it's necessarily I don't think it's a play I would make, and I think it's a really interesting decision point kind of rarely get the opportunity to.
So behind this is the lumberjack.
One item,
is
right?
one item, yeah. So we did see Uncle, I believe that was Lost Woods. And to be fair, well, I mean, like, I wouldn't look bad, but I do think this is a situation where when your options start to again, very novice opinion here. This feels like.
I mean, honestly, Tyveri's were the best point of this. Like, Hexus has made the same mistake that I've made in my MSU, where you play with an MSU where the Ganon Tower music is just too good. Like, what are you going to say? No, yeah. I'm not going to listen to the Nightmare King Grimm song? Like, come on!
That's fair. Unfortunately, I can't listen to... Well, we can't listen to this because I'd have to hear me talk, and no thanks, but totally fair.
You do know you can unmute the person's stream on the stream thing, right? Alright, so I want to be solo commenting. Now throws himself down the stairs in shame.
Yeah, sorry, I'm about to go ass over shoulders, literally, right now. Woo.
But yeah, as we kind of didn't talk about it because it was right. But that bow did pop up on Bob's tablet, which is a pretty big find for GFE, especially if that second bow ends up being real bad. That being said, you do have Spike Cave next to it. It's not like it's completely orphaned. But we are going to get our first Helmosaur kill. And so GFE is going to tie up the crystals at 2 apiece. I'm pausing because I'm making sure I can count.
Sorry, I just got back with a pint of cookie dough ice cream, which is obviously triple S tier. Sorry, y'all.
Look, cookie dough ice cream is great. You're never going to hear me say anything bad about cookie. But strawberry is great too, man.
I'm really sorry for your opinion. I'm sorry you feel that way.
I'm sorry you've never had good strawberry ice cream.
Okay, look, in all seriousness, strawberry ice cream for me it's a particular mood. It's not bad, it's conditionally good for me. Strawberry ice cream is like sweltering Louisiana summer heat kind of ice cream.
Well, that is a butter sword. That will save Hexus approximately, what, 10 seconds across the seed?
Yep.
I lied, by the way. He's still down because he hasn't beaten Ice Pal, so it's 3-2, not 2-2. Look, I can't take Fluffernutter ice cream seriously. You can't be called Fluffernutter and expect people to take you seriously.
I've never wanted to slap someone more from the comm booth than I have right now, AFG. And that's actually a lie, but just for the purposes of this, I want to slap the shit at you. Oh, for the love of God!
Honestly, if I'm Hexus and I see that this desert's small, I probably lose my shit laughing. Unfortunately for him, not guaranteed to be required, though we'll see. Right, now we're going to tie it up 3-3.
Yeah.
So as near as I can tell, the only thing that can be in back of escape and make that Hyrule Castle key required at this point is the Eastern Big?
Eastern Big Key, yeah, I believe.
Man, No Chibato
just
soaring up Goomba's favorite person ranking right there.
Weeb's in. Let's go.
So I've been trying really hard to not think about anime today because of what I'm going to be watching later tonight. Alright, and last 3 items here for GFE.
Also, vile front of TR.
Alright, we'll see if Hex just runs through Hyrule Castle here to try to leverage that climb. Or if to say, you know what, I did it without a bow, I'm going to wait till I have a bow. I suspect we'll see a run through of Hyrule Castle, but... Unfortunately for Hexus, nothing on that climb, but I mean, Hexus does have time to give. As GFE is working his way into last locating his boots. So Hexus really needs to make it to Purple Chest. The good news for Hexus, though, is that you can combo Purple Chest and Bomba's Tablet.
And Bomba's Tablet,
easily.
yeah.
You can actually grab 2 of those things. Hexus has not gone back to Laser Bridge. So hasn't gotten that swamp spot. Yeah, we're going straight for Hyrule Castle. I think this is a super understandable play. I'm in second Twitch chat, and very clearly Zaf is losing. Am I wrong?
Can I get back in the Crosskeys tournament? Will you let me back in?
No comment.
Alright, well.
had the book before they... Did they not check Ped after Skull Woods?
They did not.
Yeah, okay. That wouldn't be a surprising thing to see then.
Alright, Cubs hates fun.
I mean, Cubs is just upset because his baseball team isn't going to win for 96 more years. Oh, no.
So, baby.
That's a GT climb locked castle tower climb.
Which does, if my math adds up correctly, fuck and all.
Yeah, I'm getting the same calculations you are.
Alright, good. Just thank you for checking my math.
Alright, this I think has a pretty good chance of being a purple chest play here from Hexdis, which would get him back on the right track here. As long as he keeps... Nope, this is not a purple chest play. He bomb jumps Spec Rock, I'm pretty sure, so it can't be Graveyard Ledge.
He knows Graveyard Ledge. He also... he, apologize. Is this This is Eastern Palace?
Yeah. So Hexdis is basically paying back some of the debt that he took out on places he didn't go previously. Unfortunately for him, none of this is going to pay out. And I suspect this is going to be the Landmo kill.
Yeah.
And I also suspect it's going to turn into Desert Right from there.
Yes.
So that is going to put him back on the path of the catch-up at this point. The lamp is an Ice Palace unicorn.
Who was in the big key chest?
I still favor Hexadis's position, but not by a lot anymore.
So I have to ask, why? What at this point? I would sort of say the momentum is, and again, I'm really curious. Aside from the having to find Skull Woods, it looks like GFE's in a seemingly clearer path to the end.
Well, for one, we haven't found the Eastern Big Key yet.
Sure.
For two, Hexdis is very close to being out of stuff to do. And so I think sooner rather than later, Hexdis is going to be forced to that. Meanwhile, GFE is going to get his boots, but then it's everything that the boots locks is open. And I mean, yeah, that's going to be ice. He's probably going to get to Skull Woods. But like, that is a lot of time that Hexdis has to catch up. Now, to be fair, Hexdis is missing Swamp Palace. And I believe Hexdis hasn't found Turtle Rock right yet?
No, that's correct.
Because that was on... Actually, I already don't remember where that was. I thought it was Light World Bumper Cave, but I think that's wrong. And GFE is going to feel real annoyed about 3 seconds here.
Well, GFE won't know. It's only in this post race where GFE's probably going to have jaw.
I'm sure he's going to be annoyed anyway, though.
True.
But then the problem for GFE, I think, is going to become, if this Eastern Big Key doesn't show up, where are you going to find it? Because here comes Hexdis getting funneled into at least the Turtle Rock Big. And assuming he goes in the Dark World, I have to assume he's not going to leave Bombos behind, even out of excitement with the Turtle Rock Big chest.
Well,
I mean, he has Hammer out. He's going to the Dark World.
Sorry, I'm a couple seconds behind, so...
So Hex to beat the game needs to find Eastern big, Turtle Rock big, Swamp small, Desert small bow.
Yeah.
GFE needs to find Eastern big.
Which, as we know, isn't along the way.
But Hextus has cleared a lot more,
Right.
and so far all of the spots that he's run by haven't. I thought I said in the Skullwoods entrance, but if I didn't, then yes, he also needs to find Skullwood, which is vanilla.
Yeah.
Now the question is going to be here, so we're going to see, I assume, a Trinex. I wonder if Hextus is going to back traverse to Crystal or say, I'm going to wait until I find... Oh, Turtle Rock Right was in the Mire area. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So it's
Actually,
I knew we had
wait.
spiral. Oh.
Turtle Rock Right can't have been in the Mire area, I lied. Because the flute was in Swamp.
Yes.
But basically, we're going to have a run here where I suspect we're going to see GFE do a lot of things that Hex. And so, even though from a number of items perspective that you need, Hextus is clearly behind. From a who is more likely to start running into new stuff first, I actually still think I get. Unicorn, there was nothing in GT, but now Hextus has fully cleared out GT, and like you run out of dungeons, that 10 items, 11 items in GT once everything is summed together, that's a tempting, and so that's a bunch of time that GFE is likely going to get back, because I think it's very, very unlikely that you can go there and not. And so the question kind of is going to become, is Hextus going to spend too much time covering his losses for what he tried to do? Or is he just going to say, hey, I'm going to seek out some of these item caves and stuff that we haven't necessarily. And I think with the flute, it makes a lot of sense to seek out the item caves. Because you'll have the Mire area open, which is going to give him the Desert Small. But I don't.
But yeah, but you still have the problem of yeah.
The thing is, though, like if you look at what Hextus has to go back to, like all the things he has to go back to are really, really unappealing
And inconveniently placed, also.
That makes me not want to go back if it comes to that. So Hextus at this point needs to find Turtle Rock Right so that he can get a Swamp Small. And yeah, Mushroom is out there. Is this...
We're still missing I believe, Waterfall Fairy as a cave.
And I really wonder if at this point Hextus is just saying, I refuse until Desert Small. Because I need it, and I know it's locked behind it.
Have you seen Waterfall? Okay, I thought we've missed one of the fairy caves.
We definitely saw Pyramid Fairy, so if Tumul says we've seen Waterfall Fairy,
yep, I trust that.
We've seen both.
Yep. Yeah, I'm trying to think if the Pyramid Fairy entrance would have any value. Which again, at this point, GFE to start going. I mean, is on an entrance hunt, so.
So this would be a spot that would be phenomenal for GFE. Like, this is a game-winning spot for GFE if it's on the Mushroom. Because, like at this point, Hex is just objectively behind in terms of the amount of stuff you've done. So if GFE hits go mode, like, you just win.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not actually rushing to check that, it looks like. Unless is there a connector that goes up there really easily?
I think this is just knocking out.
I think this is just knocking.
I think this is looking at entrances, yeah, because at this point,
because he's found the potion shop, he knows it's there.
Yes, he knows it's at Hera. Oh god, Hera Basement's also an outstanding location, which I've spoken to existence. Yep.
Like, I think Hera Basement's a win con for Hexadin. I think Mushroom is probably a win con for GFE. I'm struggling to think of what else.
Yeah, I mean, I think GFE finding Eastern Palace big. Now on
this is the climb. This is the climb from GFE. Or this is
no,
this isn't.
This is going to be checking the mirror spot. This could potentially be the mirror spot as well after right side if he doesn't want to climb.
That's true. That's possible. I
suspect you're right, but there is an alternative there with.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised GFE isn't looking to see if he can woods, because if you find Skull Woods and Eastern Big is just there, then
yeah,
congratulations, you're done. But
which is really funny to me.
Time back.
Yeah, well, this is getting a lot of time back, and given turning in the mushroom, that natural play to me would have been then going to Hera, and then, well, he did. That's the problem. Is actually GFE saw most of what was on the mountain after the spiral cave.
Yep.
Which I then believe TR right was hookshot, or I think it might have been on the mountain. Maybe. I'm not even sure anymore.
So this is Desert Big Check. Or Big Chest. Alright, so we'll see. First, GFE has a couple decisions. A, does he want to keep going all the way to the Big Chest? I feel like the answer has to be yes.
It has to be yes here, yeah.
Like, this is such a frustratingly bad spot to get back forward to. Oh, sorry, I think you're low there. Yep. No, you can skip the key! You have enough! Sadness.
Leaving GT with more big keys than when you entered.
Okay, this is the mushroom turning, right? Right?
Christ on a carousel, I hope so.
If it's here, I think h3xodis is ahead. Like if it's on the potion shop. That's not the potion shop, h3xodis. Assuming h3xodis had written down where the potion shop was, which I assume.
Yeah. Which should be back of Old Man to. Yep.
Wait, what? Oh, and now map chest, right? GFE had to skip map chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all done that one.
Mm-hmm.
All turned in the mushroom and like, hey, what's here? Once it was even there. Okay, so here's GFE going for the climb.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless we're missing an item cave, it is Hera Basement, or it is this check here. That... Okay, not here. And not the small key... Oh yeah, when did I stop saying TR4 every time we saw a small?
Oh yeah, huh. Smiley face. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess Helmasaur's in Logic now. Okay. So Hexus needs to find TR8. GFE needs to go to the back of Skullwoods for the vanilla Skullwoods. And both runners... I was saying, here comes the ped check / pull. We'll see which one Hexus does. I'm very firmly on team check, but I know that will make me an enemy of chat. And he looks to be team pull. Alright, well he's going to get 300 rupees. Hell yeah. And I am going to spill my drink, so I'll be right back. Zap! Vamp! Phil!
Gotcha, fam.
So the problem for Exodus, I do think, is going to be like what this next play is, just because there's still so many disparate small things that he really does have left. Admittedly, I was gonna say I thought that we had a really clear next play here, but I've forgotten / marked off. And I hate to say this might be sort of the frustration of Hexodus. So Desert Small is in Spiral Cave, which is in the Mire area with Flute and Swamp Palace. So the problem here is the Swamp Small is in Crystal Roller Room, and this is, I think, the shit have I mismarked something. I'm thinking that I think Hex is thinking that he might have mismarked something.
This still looks like a mismark.
Yeah.
Hex needs to realize that his path in is through the back of Laser Bridge.
Yep.
Because Chodorak Right actually was flute locked behind Swamp.
Was it? Okay, thank you.
Because it wasn't Mire.
It wasn't Mire. Okay, yeah. I was like, I thought we saw it in the Mire area, or... Yeah, and at this point, I think, GFE is very rapidly closing the gaps of what we do have left. This unfortunately is going to be some of this is the Thieves' big chests for Hexodus, which is going to be time consuming, and as we know, is not much at all.
I don't know how much time Hexus has anymore, if any.
If any.
I'm trying to remember just how much GFE actually has left here at this point, and I don't think it's a lot.
I think this is going to be GFE rushing to the back of Hyrule Castle and then probably Hera basement. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, I agree with That was a really nice second too. Not to like downplay these runners. Like we're Zaf and I are more focused. Where could the things or the run? But like, don't let it distract you. We've seen some really.
Yeah, I mean, Flexodus doing everything in his power to impress with hovers, with all sorts of things, has been incredible. And GFE is no slouch. I mean, that's not to take away from GFE's execution is solid. And I think, given everything that's happened in this seed, with GFE basically having a 2-hour deficit on boots, like, it's not even a claw. I think this is just the sort of the tension, the spring eventually kind of clawing it back. It's at some point, some of these holes that Hexodus had, some of these orphans, kind of are coming back to bite them. So,
yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of the way that it goes, where when you play very aggressively, if you hit the route, you get very good times, you feel really good. But it does tend to mean that if you miss the route, your cleanup is a lot more painful. And that's kind of what Hexus is running into here. So, like, he's going to grab Spike Cave here. What he needs to realize is the play is to run out the back of Laser Bridge. And
I think given the miss marks, which might have all, or the reevaluation of what I had in CAC, is probably a trying to figure out what key they have left. So
yeah. And unfortunately for Hexus, there just like wasn't a sequence breakable way to mire, or just because I think Hex is stuck now.
Yep.
We'll see if he Hex's house is the starting point he wants. As GFE is going to find his second castle tower key.
But GFE may also hilariously get to that point too, because I think it is aside from GFE finding Skull Woods, which he has to realize he needs to find the entrance. It's Hera Basement.
Yeah, No, I do not believe we've seen Big Bomb entrance yet.
We've not seen Big Bomb entrance left, and that's what I thought. And this is where
we're not sure if there are any missing item caves.
Yeah. So this is GFE going for Big Bomb entrance now, I think, as a probably taking time to, hey, I'm going to do this and double check things.
Okay. So this is Light World West Death Mountain.
Yep.
For Hexodus. It's just unfortunate because there's been I think there's been a really good rate.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry. Hyperaggressive. What we believe has to be in Hera Basement is the Eastern Palace Big Key.
Or there is a item entrance, and it's at Bomb Shop here. So you actually say Hex had an actually alternate saving play there too, which is to go in front of turn and go through the front to.
Yeah. There it is.
Yep. Okay.
There's
and we go. There's one item cave left. And that is now fine entrance mode for GFE, who now just needs to head to the vanilla back of Skullwoods. I was saying, I mean, Hexus is now finding things like, oh, here's more things quite knocked off yet, but unfortunately, they're not going to be the answer that he's seeking.
Really quick, while we see for this a little bit of this cleanup and everything else, trackers again. Thank you so much. You get to do the hard job, so Alice and I can sit here, banter, shoot the shit, and try and conjecture what was left. Because I was pretty sure we had something there, but all things considered, but yeah. So
yeah, I kind of rushed home, so I didn't have time to set up my tracker and be like, oh yeah, I can. All right, Hexus has it now. He's on the path.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's gonna be too little, too late. Also, I think at this point, Silvers are either Eastern Big Chest, Armos, or Hera Basement. And I'm not gonna lie, the sheer number of times I've seen those fuckers drop from the Armos now after a long, protracted bow hunt makes me want to scream a little bit.
What I'm hoping is that he skips the big chest and they're there.
Well, you're halfway there.
Oh, baby.
I almost said something that was going to get Zaf to yell okay and scream it. I just chose not to instead since I ribbed him on it last night.
What's that? Go ahead, just destroy me.
Well, he treated... GFE just did his cosplay like he was Zaf and the Eastern Palace Big Chest was my dog. He's like, I could meet you, but no, I'm good. Zaf doesn't like that I remind him of this, which is why I take every opportunity to remind him of that fact that he chose to not meet the dog.
Alright, anyway, so I'm glad to be here for the start of this Crosskeys match.
Here's a question, and I don't necessarily know the answer to it. If h3xodis had been able to go straight to Turtle Rock, would they have still been ahead? I think the answer is probably yes, but I think the answer is no if they went to revisit things like the Turtle Rock entrance, Thieves Town Big Chest, things like that. And unfortunately for h3xodis, the item he is going to find here is not the item he's hoping to find.
I'm sorry, Ty. What did I do? How did I ruin everyone? But yeah. Oh no.
Here comes crystal number 7 for GFE. And Tomatek, our tracker, out here pretending like who rolls the seed matter.
How could you not let the runners put their fate in their hands?
I don't think that works. Yeah, okay.
No.
And meanwhile, GFE on the Ganon March now. And I gotta be honest, one of the things I kind of appreciate about Crosskeys is that if the seed is a pure dumpster fire, at least Ganon is a face roll level.
It's hard to kind of think back to, because I think 2 hours ago we were saying that this was, not necessarily 1,000 cuts for h3xodis, but that there were small things that were getting there, like obviously the key steal. Okay, haha. Silvers and Hera.
X, and might I add D.
GFE dying at Spike Cave, for instance, and missing the mirror for another 10 minutes. But I think all things considered, it was, like you were saying too, with the aggression that Hex showed, with things being a little bit more out of the way than they might normally be, this really kind of began to catch up as well.
Yeah, and to be clear, there's nothing wrong with aggression. That doesn't the fact it didn't work in this seed doesn't make it the wrong play.
Yep.
I mean, ultimately, we're all just playing weighted random number generator, hoping we can put our thumbs on the scales a little bit as the pig goes down. And
Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, please get your GGs in chat for GFE finishing very shortly here and crossing the bridge once that goofy mosaic goes through.
also, shout out to GFE, who definitely did not skip leg day today, as he trudged around for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And we'll see if Hex chooses to finish out. Nope, I was saying Hex looks like he just forfeit. Looks like GFE is going to join us. I don't know if Hex is yet. I mean, always the runner's choice on whether they do it. There's nothing wrong with people declining the interview, nothing wrong with coming in. And I sure as hell understand getting tilted after losing. I've certainly been there. Or even if you just don't want to do the interview. I'll be honest, I don't want to talk to me.
I wouldn't want to talk to me. I like talking with you, though. Thank you for pulling me on for comms.
I mean, I wouldn't want to talk to you either.
Wow, GFE. Understandable.
Damn, that came in hard. Fair, but hard.
Yeah, after this, pretty fair. I only have myself to blame for GT, though.
But you say that, but I think your options were particularly limited. I mean, so okay.
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
The thing is, like, it depends. I should have kept checking entrances till I found Skullwoods. Originally, when I went over there, I was going to take the which connector was it? Super Bunny connector to check Light World Bumper Ledge.
Called it.
But
okay, that's what Zaf said he thought that you were doing, and I thought
I was like, GT's here. That's a lot of items. I can't leave this. But like if I find Skullwoods first, like if that's my first check, entrance wise, instead, then I'm not going to do Pyramid Fairy. I'm going to go for GT instead at that point. So just depends the order I would have done things in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of you will be very interested to watch this back thing, since Hex had his boots at
I can imagine
12 minutes, something like that.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Did he steal the key? Did he steal the key?
Of course.
Imagine stealing the key in the seed where you get boots 2 hours early.
So here's the problem: is that he did a different opener than you, and so before he found Desert, he walked into the back of Desert Palace with half a heart.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a free key still. So.
And so basically said, "Hey, I have a free key still here."
Yeah.
And went for it.
I considered it for half a second, and it's like, no.
Hex had I think for most of the seed, you were losing time at a steady but not egregious level across any of it. And it wasn't really till your death right next to Spike Cave that it felt like you were really behind.
Which I only died because I didn't have boots. I would have survived that if I'd had boots.
But ultimately what ended up getting Hex is he didn't go through to Crystal Roller from Laser Bridge.
Yeah, I mean, that was nasty.
Yeah. And so he never got
not from Laser. Oh, I forget where Kane was, but I went through it from TR left.
Yeah, he went. He didn't go from either direction.
Yeah.
And then kind of fuddled around for about 10 minutes trying to figure out what do I even have. And he eventually put it together and figured out, okay, I have Crystal Roller available.
I mean, I'd like to take something back. I just said I forgot where Kane was. I remember now.
I remember where Kane was.
I remember where
Everybody should remember where Kane was.
My desk remembers where Kane was too.
I just stared at that for a second. Yeah. Oh man. I love having 3 pendants and 1 crystal.
Yeah, I want to ask, like, what, without any really pointed questions, what were your thoughts going through the seed? Admittedly, how were you feeling? Because it's different from our perspective versus how you kind of thought the seed was going.
I mean, late, wasn't feeling too good. Early on, I felt all right until I found Mirror later than I could have for sure. That felt nasty, and then I went back and found Thieves Town later than I should, but it didn't end up having much of anything, so it didn't feel as bad.
Yeah, the fire
It
rod.
did have
but-
Fire Rod on blind, but you got to have Big Key and stuff at that point to get to it. Yeah, Fire Source early on would have been nice. Yeah. A lot of things would have been nice. The seed held back, and then there was that Swamp Small NTR leading to Flute, which was nasty.
And I
So,
mean, ultimately, I think that Swamp Small is actually why you won. So as nasty as it might have felt, like that was the difference.
I mean, when you lose 2 hours of boots, that's pretty painful. Oh man, that's so much time.
Yeah, it was. I mean, this was a really, really interesting case study in how both small advantages can add up and also how aggressive skips can bite you ultimately as well.
Yeah.
Because when Hex was going through, he didn't have much in terms of high density stuff left, but there was a lot of like little nickel and dimey stuff that he went back to check on. I think ultimately, if it got to the point where he said, "Hey, I'm just gonna go and check on Crystal Roller," he probably wins the seed. But I think even if he knew here are all of my things and he chose to sequence them the same way, even without the 2 or 3 minutes he kind of spent staring into the ether, I think you probably would have had enough just to nudge him a little bit, especially since you found King's Tomb before you found Skullwoods. Because I think between the two of you, the only things we had left was in and Hera Basement.
Let's see. Looking at my tracker,
I'm not sure you have much more than that left.
I have the other. I have Skullwood's big chest, the other chest, and Skullwood's back.
Did you ever check Potion Shop?
I never went back up to check what that was.
That was TR4.
I think that's that, and oh wow, nice. That and Hera Basement, yeah. I feel like there was something. I'm looking through my tracker now. No, that's pretty much it. There was a small key on library that had to be looking at stuff. Maybe a pod key?
It's pod, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I won't say this felt good at the midpoint onward. Wow, key steal really pays off in this. Even though it didn't work out in the end.
Speaking of key steal, you chose not. You chose not to set up the key steal in Hyrule Castle.
Yeah. I said I could do Dark Cross now, but it's not pretty to do, and I'll just come back when I have the Hyrule Castle small, which I did. Shout outs to this not being all dungeons, because if it was, that logic was like awful.
Oh, it was horrific.
Validation key, which I had to follow once I got that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see
to your second Aga small in the back.
Yeah.
Oh man, classic. 80 Crosskeys, please. I mean, that's what I almost did.
But basically, between the two of you, it was done. I think so.
Other than Aga 1.
Other than Aga 1, yeah.
I'll say you really can't do Aga 1 in this season.
Nope. There's no world where you do Aga 1.
You literally just have to say, this is dead, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, GG's, congratulations on the win. I'm sure that didn't feel wonderful to play for a large part of it.
I mean, I've been looking at the times coming in, and there's a lot more 210 and 220 times than I was expecting. So someone turned up the trolley seeds a notch, I guess.
Seed difficulty settings seem to have popped up a little bit higher.
Yeah, there we go. But no, still, either way, feels good to start off with a win, even if it's like this. But hopefully next week goes a little better. Maybe I can get boots before 2 hours. Otherwise, I don't have a lot else to say about this one. I did feel pretty bad about my 2 dumb deaths, one of them being that early Meyer play where I took the Wizrobe Beam to the face. Didn't lose a lot of time there.
Let's say at least that one's a pretty short time loss in terms of how much you lost.
Trying to remember, there was another dumb death I can't
Fight Cave?
recall. Yeah, that was the one.
I think that's the one that probably hurt you the most.
And that just delayed you to mirror, right?
I'll be honest. When I went in there, I was like, I'm pretty sure it's like possible on this, but it's like frames. I really would want one more heart, but I didn't want to leave and try to farm one. I was like, we'll just give it a go, and then just so close.
Yep, and I mean those are the margins sometimes.
Yeah.
But at least it ended up not costing you overall, and so it's a lot easier to look back on it and kind of have a, well, that sucked, but at least it was kind of silly.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, it wasn't going to get me to mirror a whole lot faster because I wasn't coming out of Spike Cave anyway. I had intended to come back to that area sooner. I forgot what distracted me. Something distracted me because I was going to go back to the
I think you followed like Ice Palace or similar sorts of stuff and did Flipper stuff.
Maybe. I might have done the rest of my Flipper stuff. But either way, thank you guys for the stream. Thanks for the comms, you two, and to our trackers. I don't know if we had 2 tonight or not. I don't have it up right now.
Yeah, we do. We had Tomal and Sammy both tracked.
Thank you both. It's a lot of fun. Even though it was kind of nasty with what y'all said about the differences, I look forward to going back and seeing just how this one played out and how many horrible things Zaf had to say about me.
I would never.
He was too busy spouting terrible opinions about ice cream.
I would.
What kind?
Okay, so hold up. GFE, man of the people.
Here we go.
Do it.
Rate me in all of your tiers of ice cream. Rate where you put strawberry, rate where you put chocolate, and where you would put vanilla.
Chocolate is top. Dark chocolate's better. Strawberry is pretty low. I like strawberries, but strawberry ice cream is just not the same.
All right, well, thanks for joining us. We're gonna.
Oh God, GFE is an 8-0 runner in this tournament. Holy shit!
Let me throw.
We're gonna raid over to Security Savasa.
Quick hot take. Those of you who like mint ice cream, you're eating frozen toothpaste. I don't understand.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one who thinks that.
I do enjoy mint chocolate chip, but that's a nostalgia thing. I don't reach for it these days. Like if someone's like, "Oh," it's like, "Okay, yeah," but I won't.
It's a nostalgia for me. Sorry, that's not true. It's an acquired taste for me, not a nostalgia thing. I hated mint when I was growing up because my sisters always wanted, and I always wanted good flavors like strawberry. But
I mean, I'll eat strawberry. I'm not going to bash it too much, but of those 3, it's a lower tier. If it's a real good strawberry, then yeah, I'll go for it. Or if it's sorbet instead of ice cream, totally.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not talking about like crappy like strawberry soft serve or stuff like. I mean, like actual stuff with like actual strawberries in it is delicious.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you that.
Well, at least we've settled the most important question that was raised during the race today.
Yeah, honestly, again, GFE, thank you for being an esteemed guest and an incredible ice cream runner and Crosskeys player as well. God bless.
Glad to be of service. All my ice cream opinions are greater than Gamma Chews. Just that's all.
Well, yeah, I mean, the guys.
I mean,
yeah, shouldn't say so. Well, I'm out of the that tournament anyway. So anyway, moving on.
But yeah, you kind of gave up your last thoughts. Did anyone have anything else that they wanted to cover? Cut. We're sort of dragging at this point because Zaf and I think we're a comedy, but
we are. It's fine.
Yeah. All right, Tubble, you want to take it away from us so that we shut the fuck up?
All right, well, we are going to raid over to Security Tsubasa. I don't think I pronounced that name right, but she's doing some Link to the Past randomizer herself, and she's the only one on my follow list right now that is, and I don't feel like looking any farther than that, so that's where I There's nothing else on ZSR tonight. I mean, it is almost Saturday anyway, so I guess there really couldn't be anything else tonight. But tomorrow we've got, let's see, Challenge Cup, Game 2 between Alexius and Nux for the semifinals. We've got a standard weekly for Majora's Mask. We got Twilight Princess Any Percent race, maybe around 1 o'clock, so we can get people to do that. We got a grand finals for Group Nehru in the Mini Blins tournament. Some Wind Waker Randomizer bi-weekly race as well, so it's a good amount of Wind Waker there. Skyward Swords Randomizer, and of course the OOT Randomizer standard weekly for the NA side time frame. So kind of a packed day tomorrow. So a lot of stuff going on. So that's about noon Eastern and goes to about whenever the OOT weekly ends, about probably 8, 9 o'clock, somewhere in there Eastern time. So good amount of chunk. Tune into one of the channels at any point during the time during the day tomorrow. You should hit something that's Zelda related. But I'm going to give another shout out to our comms. Thank you, Alazun. Thank you to Zaf for coming for us. Thank you to Sammy for helping me track. GFE, you and Hex for running and giving us a great show, despite the fact that the sea was garbage. And chat, you guys for coming out and enjoying and giving Alazun and Zaf stuff to work with. So we're going to right over to Sakura, and I hope everyone has a good night.